Hi, I'm Bill Ritchie. Welcome to my gallery. I have here in front of me a collection of the Jacob Lawrence-Bill Ritchie collaboration from 1970. I have one of the three prints that I discovered that we had made in 1970 and that I put away. The other one is framed on the wall here, and another one is in an auction currently in Seattle. I thought I'd explain this print because several people have asked me about its history. Jake came to Seattle in 1970 as a visiting artist to the UW. And I was a young printmaking teacher, and I wanted to push collaboration between artists and printmakers. And Jake agreed. He would be the artist and I would be the printmaker, and my students would learn from that experience. So I took a stone to his little gallery on the third floor, and for this video, I made a fake stone, a faux stone, of what a lithograph stone looks like. Now this is a fake stone, so it's light as a feather, but a stone like Jake used weighed about 125 pounds. It's made of limestone. It is limestone, about 2 or 3 inches thick. And the process involves grinding off the stone surface, and then with crayons for lithography, they're called litho crayons, and they come in pencil form and stick form, that kind of thing. Then the artist draws right on the stone. So it's a direct process. This again is a reduced fake copy of what that stone looked like in 1970. Then the printmaker, myself, processes the stone with some chemicals, too elaborate to explain here, and then prints them. That was my job. And I printed 33 copies and delivered them back to Jake. And he looked at them. I kept back 3 of them because there was a little tiny crease or something. I can't even see it today. I can't remember why I decided those weren't good enough. But I kept those because I could use the backs later on. The prints kind of disappeared for about 30 years. I never knew what happened. I thought maybe Jake didn't like them. Maybe his dealer didn't like them. Maybe it was because they were black and white. Then, in the early 90s, I got a telephone call from the Cedars Gallery from Peter Nesbitt, who was working on the catalog of the graphics, and he said, "We have this lithograph." And I had thought that by then it was destroyed or whatever, lost or stolen. And so he explained to me that no, they were fine and they were all being sold at the gallery. I learned later on that the last one was sold probably around the late 1999, around there, for $5,000, which kind of surprised me. In fact, I asked him, "Do you think there's a chance of getting one since I was the printer?" And he said he'd have to ask someone else, and so I gave up the idea. So when I found these prints, I realized, well, I have 3, so I should be happy with that. And then he died in the year 2000. And at about that time, I was going through some storage drawers, looking at a portfolio of prints that I had made in the 1972, I believe it was. And I turned it over, and there were the 3 Jacob Lawrence trial proofs that I had used the backs of. Well, it brought back a lot of memories of my short experience with Jake, and of course a lot had happened between 1970 and the year he died. He'd become a full professor of art at the UW, so had I. The time passed, things changed, and I thought about all this, and I decided to make a memento or a memorial kind of a print. Now about that time, the year 2000, I was working on a game that I call Emeralda. And so I carved the word Emeralda, backward of course, into a piece of linoleum, and I used that plate on the print, on a table of course, and I rubbed it. And you can see the embossing from this side. And when it comes out on the front, it's what we call debossing, or white on white, or blind proof. And then I titled it Homage to Jake. A few years later, a friend on Guaymas Island who was starting an art center asked me for a print to donate for an auction to support his nonprofit organization, and I found these prints and I offered one to him. He accepted it, but the auction was canceled, long story. But as it turned out, finally in about 2 or 3 years ago, I rediscovered the prints again. These things kept coming up, and it gave me cause to think about the connection between the theme chess players, which was one of Jake's favorite topics, and games, the games of digital games, video games, and so forth. And I discovered in a book the full catalogue raisonné of Jacob Lawrence's drawings that the original drawing was actually included in the catalogue. That was done in 1970. So this is the drawing he worked from when he did the lithograph. You'll notice when you compare the two, if you use a reference of this little man with the boxy hat on, is backward. Here it appears on the left side, and in the lithograph it appears on the right. And that's because when Jake drew the drawing on the lithograph stone, when you compare the composition of the two, you see that he copied the drawing, you see on the right, and he transferred it to the litho on the left. And when it was printed, of course, it came out left for right reversed. I thought that was kind of an interesting sidelight. Today, I don't know what the prints are worth in terms of dollars. They have a strong sentimental value to me. When I've shown them to people, they're confused as to why would I emboss this across a Jacob Lawrence print. And the point is that it was a collaboration. From the beginning it was a collaboration, and I guess you could say that my addition to the print, to one of these three prints, was an extension of that collaboration and kind of opens the doors to games. Well, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this little docent lecture about the Lawrence-Ritchie collaboration. Thank you.